So again, whenever I see a line in an xy plane, I think of the slope and the y-intercept. So when you look at the line, first thing you notice is that it is a positive slope. It's following the it's following the Nike sign, so that's a positive slope. That's the first thing. And the second thing you notice right away is that it has also a y-intercept right here at y equals 1. So the only option that actually follows y equals mx plus b, where there is a positive slope and there is a y-intercept of 1, is D. Choice C has an intercept of 0. Choice A and choice B represents vertical and horizontal line. So x equals 1 is actually a vertical line. Y equals 1 is a horizontal line. This one is y equals x, and it should pass by the origin, and this one is the one that's positive, but it passes by the y-intercept that's equals to 1. Is this one clear ولا في أي مشكلة?
This is clear, but I have a question.
Of course.
Did we answer the way it was because of the y equals mx plus b form, or what exactly?
What do you mean by the question again? Can you say that again?
For example, we chose it because y equals x plus 1 represents y equals mx plus b.
Yes, but I was asking which of the following is an equation of a line. We know for a fact that the equation of a line must follow y equals mx plus b. So we're looking for the slope and we're looking for the y-intercept out of the graph and then filling them into this form to figure out which one is the correct equation.
So for example, if we got more than one answer that was similar to y equals x plus 1.
Then we'll select the one that has the y-intercept equals to 1 and the slope equals to 1. If I had another choice, let's say y equals 2x minus 3 or y equals x minus 1, these are completely incorrect because this one has a slope of 2 and a y-intercept of negative 3, while this one has a slope of 1 and y-intercept of negative 1. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Awesome.
Thank you, sir.
Most welcome. And for checking number 2, it's much easier. So you're told that the circumference of this circle is 36, and the circumference is mainly the length of the circle itself. What's the length of the minor arc AC? What's the length of this part right here? So when you look at this, you can think about it this way. Apparently, if this is 90, this is 90, and this is 90, and this is 90, which makes this arc equals to this one, equals to that one, equals to this. So you just need to divide the 36 by 4, and you'll get that each arc is 9. And that's the answer right away. Another thing is because this is a 90-degree angle, so 90 over the whole circle, which is 360, is supposed to be equals to the length that I want over the whole circle, which is 36 in length. Cross multiply, that will get you to the same answer, that x must be equals to 9. Does both make sense, or is there anything that's not very clear? And am I speeding up? No problems? What are the solutions of the quadratic equation this without a calculator? Actually, there are two ways to solve this. You can actually find the x values right away themselves, or if you looked at them, they all have the same values. The difference is just in the signs. So by looking at the signs, I can actually decide which is supposed to be the negative one and which is supposed to be the positive one. Because when I factorize, the bigger number should take the middle sign, while the smaller number will have a different sign since it's negative. So I can tell for a fact that the bigger number will become positive and the smaller number will become negative. So definitely the answer will be B. This is a very critical thinking way. The other way is to divide the whole thing by 4. So you'll have x squared minus 2x minus 3 equals to 0. And then think of two numbers multiplied, that would give you 3. Added or subtracted would be 1. So those would be definitely, sorry, it would be 2. So that's 3 and 1. The bigger number will be the negative sign. And since this is negative, then these are different. That then would give me that x is equals to positive 3 and x is equals to negative 1, which are again the exact same answers we got earlier. A third way to do this is to try out the boxes. Yes, sorry.
Beyond this question in a calculation, it just use y equals mx.
This is not y equals mx plus b.
Mode 5 3
Yes, yes. You can use mode 5-3 and it would get you to the answers right away.
So I was just confused.
That's not a problem. Most welcome. Everyone else, is this okay? The three of ways, the various ways that we've done make sense to all of you? You can, of course, submit the choices and try them out. Which one of those would be equals to 0? It's okay. Now, which of the following is an example of a function whose graph in the xy plane has no x-intercepts? Now, if you remember, I told you a few names that are all representative of the same thing. The x-intercepts are the same as the x values, are the same as the solutions, are the same as the roots, and the zeros. They're all the same thing. So if I say that there is a function that has no x-intercepts, it means it has no roots. It means it has no zeros. So when you check, it's choice C definitely. It's a quadratic function with no real zeros. So that's an easy one, just by remembering the keywords of those answers. Finally, number 5. Whenever you're given is a value of any variable, since you're given already that x is equals to 9, substitute x with 9 right away. So you'll have minus 9 equals to 0. Just move the negative 9 to the other side and I'll have root k plus 2 all equals to positive 9. Now in order to remove the root, I just have to square the other side. So I'll have k plus 2 equals 9 power 2, which is 81. Then move the 2 to the other side, so I'll have k equals to 81 minus 2, which means k is equals to 79. This is the value of k, which is d. Are we all good? Awesome.
Mister, could you explain that again?
Of course. Which part do you think is a bit confusing?
The whole thing, Mister, I was just a bit confused.
Okay, so what's the first step that we need to do whenever we have an x? Whenever you're given that x is equals to 9, what do you think the first thing needs to be done?
Substitute.
So I did that. Now we're trying to find the value of k, which means I'm trying to remove everything next to it to the other side of the equal sign, correct? So what's the furthest thing away from k?
0.
No, I mean on the same side of the k.
Negative 9.
Good. So this goes to the other side by? If it's negative, it goes to the other side by what?
The signs change.
Yeah, so it becomes positive 9. 0 plus 9 is just 9, right? Now how do I remove the root? How do I remove the root and take it to the other side? What's opposite to the root? It's the power of 2. So 9 power 2, which then will give me that k plus 2 is equals to 81. Then move the 2 to the other side. So 81 minus 2 will become 79.
Okay, so I got it.
Awesome. Most welcome. Which SAT exam was said to have the hardest no calculated questions? I think there was a couple, not just one. I think it was the December 2019, I think. Type. Now, if you don't mind, head to Google Classroom one more time. And let's try to work on P2. Pretty easy as well, to the point. Not a hard one at all. Just try your best and let's see how this works. For the 5 questions, 6 minutes, and please finish within that time. Submit your work within that time. 6 minutes started now. I'll check it out for you, Ajay, and I'll give it to you. All right. Your answers are not bad at all, actually. But there's more. There is some that's really bad and some that's really good. So I want you to ask, please, this time, because apparently you don't really understand. So please ask. Which of the following is equivalent to the sum of whatsoever? So the sum is mainly just to add these two together. If I'm going to add this to this, I just need to write them next to each other and put the plus sign and add. Now, like terms together would go right away. -1 plus 1, they'll cross each other. So the remaining is a squared plus a. This one, we should not have seen a single mistake over here. Okay?
Mr. but multiplication. هتكون a to the power of 3 صح؟
Yes, so if, this is another example, if I have, for one reason, a squared minus 1 multiplied by a plus 1, in this case, this times this and this times that will get me a3 plus a squared, and then times this will give me negative a, and then times that will give me negative 1. صح؟
تمام.
طيب, if you're checking number 7, it says Jackie has 2 summer jobs. She works as a tutor, which pays $12 per hour, and she works as a lifeguard, which pays $9.5 per hour. She can work no more than 20 hours per week. No more. What does that mean, no more? Yani, the number of hours that she can work tutoring and lifeguarding both together should be less than or equals to 20. There should be no more than 20. And then it says, but she wants to earn at least 220 per week. So how do I calculate the earnings? I should multiply the amount she gets per hour times the number of hours she worked as a tutor. And then her salary per hour, which is 9.5, multiplied by the number of hours she worked as a lifeguard. These together should be at least 220, which means they need to be bigger than or equals to 220. So when you look at the choices, the correct choice would be then C. Does this make sense to everyone? Perfect.
I get the question, but for me when I was solving it, I understood it's all part 12x plus 9.5 is what's it called, less than or equals to 220. But the bottom part I really didn't understand. Now I got it.
Which is the x plus y equal less than 20, right?
No, the 12x.
Ah. So where did I get those, Yani? Where did I get those from? Just from the facts. Like, he gave me 2 major pieces of information. The first one is that there has to be a total of hours. And the second one, that there has to be a total of money. So I thought, how do I calculate the hours? And I thought, I'm going to add the hours plus the hours. Now, how do I calculate the overall money? It should be money times hours plus money times hours. And that's how I got this equation right here. And that's how I thought about the other one as well. Okay?
Okay, sure. Thank you.
Most welcome. Number 8 is a linear equation. So it's one of the easy ones. And you should be able to see it right away that this is a linear function. this is in the same form of y equals mx plus b. This means that 0.6 is the slope, while 331.4 is the y-intercept. So when they ask you, what does this 331.4 represent? What does it mean? You think of the keywords of the slope and the keywords of the intercept. The keywords of the slope are every so and so, per so and so, each, the rate of change. This could be increase every so and so or decrease every so and so. While the y-intercept, on the other hand, has different keywords. For example, the word initially, the word start, the word beginning, or before, or fixed fee, one time fee, once. All of those represents the same thing. First, yes. So at the very beginning, the y-intercept is the thing that's done only once at the very beginning. Now also, if I need to find the y-intercept in any equation whatsoever, I should always put x with 0. So whenever there's a situation that says that x is equals to 0, the y is the y-intercept. In this question, x here is T, which is the temperature. And later on in the choices, there is only one choice that says that the temperature is equals to 0. In other words, it means that the x is equals to 0. And whenever x is equals to 0, the result should be the y-intercept. So that must be the correct answer. But if you check the second one, is it the speed of the sound in meters per second? I have no idea. Is it the increase per whatsoever? Now remember that the increase and the decrease are mainly the slope. So it's not the increase. It cannot as well be the increase of this one. It's either the speed at 0 or the speed at 0.6. And again, since it is the y-intercept, then it must be when the speed or the x was equals to 0. Is this clear or not?
Mr. Ahmed?
Yes, yeah.
I understand that it's linear and the y equals minus 3 and everything, but y has to be equals to 0.
Why does the x needs to be equal to 0?
Yeah.
Okay. So you understand that at the end of the day, we're talking about a y-intercept, which means we're talking about a line, a graph, x, y axis, and so on. Now imagine any point on the y-axis. Isn't the y-intercept supposed to be a point on the y-axis?
Yes.
So what's the x coordinate of this point?
This one exactly?
Yeah, let's say this is at 3 on the y. What's the x coordinate? It's 0 on the x, 3 on the y. That's the coordinates, right?
Because the line didn't touch the x.
Because this is the x-axis and this is the y-axis. Apparently, in this point, the x is equals to 0. While on the y-axis here, the y is equals to 3. صح?
Yes.
So what if we're talking about a point that's here, for example, at -4? What are the coordinates of this point?
-4 and 3.
No. What are the coordinates of this point? What's the x coordinate of this point?
Oh, 0 and -4.
Exactly. So we check x and y. Type any point whatsoever that you'll ever take on the y-axis itself will always have an x that's equals to 0. Hello, ya Amar. So as long as x is equals to 0, this means that we're talking about the y-intercept. Since here in this question they're asking about the 331.4, which is this one, and I know for a fact that it is the y-intercept, then I looked for the answer that says that x was equals to 0. And the only answer that says so is this one, when they said that the temperature was equals to 0. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay. Noreen, we're not yet. This is something they've already answered and I'm explaining. So, try to focus to this one with me and then we'll see the rest. You're most welcome. Everyone, are we clear on this one? Okay. Type. This was the second one you've solved. actually the third one, the one before the last. It says here, what's the value of x times y? And when you look, there is something called a system of equations. There's a system. Two equations that are written at the same time. So what am I supposed to do? Try to substitute them in each other. What do I mean by that? I mean, remove this y and substitute x power 2. Aren't they supposed to be exactly equal to each other, the y and the x squared? So I'll just remove the y and substitute x squared. So now I'll have 2 times x squared plus 6 equals 2 multiplied by x plus 3. Is this step for everyone understood? And you understand why am I doing this?
Yes.
Right. Now, because we have an x squared و x power 1, قلنا لما يبقى عندي x squared و x power 1, everything moves to one side and we make it equals to 0. But first we distribute. So دلوقتي هيبقى عندي ال 2x power 2 as it is plus 6 equals 2 times x, which is 2x. 2 times 3 is just 6. Move everything to one side and again make it equals to 0. So it will have 2x squared plus 6 and then minus 2x and then minus 6 and all equals to 0. Until this point, anyone has any issues?
Mister, so basically we just substituted 2 into x and 3. Then we moved it to the other side.
You mean multiplied? Multiplied, yes, 2 by x and 3. And then moved both to the other side, yes.
Then equals to 0.
Because there's nothing left on the right side. Now,
thank you.
Like terms together, most welcome. These will cross each other. حبيبي طب tell me انت فهمت ايه؟ يعني لحد دلوقتي فهمت ايه؟
لا انا مستر بص انا لسه كنت شويه من اول السؤال ده بصراحه.
لا طب فوق كده يا باشا، ماشي فوق كده. طيب انا الواي عندي is equals to something صح؟
ايوه.
I'll remove this y and substitute the same thing. So بدل الواي احط x power 2. This is how I got this. Is this okay?
ايوه.
فاهم اكيد؟
لا ايوه مستر لو كده فهمتها خلاص.
ماشي. So بعد كده what we're doing is mainly substitution عادي جدا، اللي هي زي system of equations is substitution method. اوكي؟ مش قوي؟
لا ايوه مستر.
طيب let's now try to find the value of x. احنا قلنا ما دام عندي x power 2 المفروض كل حاجه تبقى في ناحيه واحده و equals to 0. So هسيب الاولين ده زي ما هو، بس التاني هديستريبيوت. 2 times x will become 2x. 2 times 3 is just 6. Now عشان قلنا again x squared و x power 1 so كل حاجه هتروح الناحيه التانيه. فيبقى عندي ال 2x squared زي ما هي بس plus 6 وبعدين minus ال 2x وماينس ال 6 وكل ده equals اللي على الناحيه دي بقى فاضي ما فيش حاجه. It's just a 0. Now ال positive 6 وال minus 6 will remove each other that become 0 واللي هيتبقى هيبقى 2x squared minus 2x كل ده equals to 0. Any problems يا جماعة until this step?
لا.
Everyone we're good?
Yes.
Now how do I find x? Please focus. Take a common factor. What's common between these two terms? What can I divide these two terms by? ال 2 والx. So هكتب ال 2 بره والx بره وI'll open a bracket. كان عندي هنا 2x power 2 خدت منها 2 بره وخدت منها x بره فهيتبقى ايه؟ Again, I had 2x power 2. I took a 2 out and I took an x. So what's remaining is just 1x صح؟ طيب بس هنا بقى بعد كده minus out of this 2x I took an entire 2x اللي هيتبقى ايه؟ 1. كل ده is now equals to 0. I have two things multiplied that are equals to 0, so it's either 2x equals 0 or x minus 1 is the one that's equals to 0. This will give me x equals 0 and this will give me x equals 1. Now I got the value of x and I got both x's. I can substitute to get the y. صح؟
I lost you a bit after.
Ask.
2x squared minus 2x. I understood that you put 2x then you're gonna have 1x left from the squared, so you're gonna put a bracket x minus 1. I don't get the minus 1.
So if I have, this is another story, okay? If I have 4x plus 8, can you take 4 as a common factor? How do you take a common factor?
You divide.
Exactly. So we put the 4 out and we open a bracket. We divide 4x by 4. What's the answer? 4x divided by 4, yes, x. And then 8 divided by 4. What's the answer?
2.
Good. So that's how I got a common factor. Now try to do this over here. I took the 2x as a common factor. I'll open a bracket. Divide 2x power 2 by 2x.
You left it x. So
good. So that's an x right here. Where's the pen?
then
I'm sorry, just give me a
negative
second.
2x divided by 2x equals 0.
Yes, يا حبيبي. 2x divided by 2x is what?
0 or 1.
1 actually. Anything divided by itself is 1, and that's how I got the x minus 1. Is this okay?
So it's negative 1, okay, but
Sure.
yes. Thank you, Mr.
Thank you. Everyone else, are you sure you understand the common factor thing that happened so far? طيب what happens next؟ قلنا لما بيكون عندي أي حاجتين في الدنيا times بعض equals 0 بقسمهم بقول يا إما الأولاني هو اللي بزيرو يا إما التاني the other one that's the one that's equals to 0 and I solve both. I find x here, this will be 0. I'll find x here by moving negative 1 to the other side. I'll have x 1. Now I have 2x values. Is this clear ولا لأ for everyone?
So the x that was there became 0 and negative 1 as it is.
Again, can you say that again?
After 2x, bracket x minus 1 equals 0.
It's either the first one, it's either the first part, which is the 2x equals to 0, or the second part, which is x minus 1, is the one that's equals to 0. And I solve both equations. I find the value of x. How do I solve this one, Ya Ali? 2x is equals to 0. How do I find the value of x?
You divide it by...
Yes. So 0 divided by 2 is what?
0.
Good. Now, on the other hand, x minus 1 equals to 0. Then what do I do to find the value of x?
Add 1.
I'll move negative 1 to the other side by addition. So I get both 2x values. Is this clear?
Yes.
So I need actually the y because they need x times y. So I just need to substitute one of those x's here. Let's say the 1. So then the y will be equals 1 power 2, which means that y is equals 1. I have the x and I have the y, then x times y is 1 times 1, which means that the answer is 1.
I didn't really get it.
لا. Ask Ali and focus. It's not about you didn't really get. You just got the value of x. Now substitute.
So we have x equals 0 and equals 1.
Substitute one of them instead of the equation itself, the original equation, the one that we started with, y equals x squared.
Okay, so... Oh, okay, so خلاص I got it.
Ask everyone else, ask. But why did I take the 1? Why didn't I take the 0? Why didn't I substitute it with the 0?
Because that's what I'm giving you 0.
So no, I have two x's here. Here's the first x and here's the second x. Why did I select this one to substitute with over here? Why not the 0? Yes, because...
Y equals 0 squared.
No, not that. It's because they said here that x must be bigger than 0. So it can't be the 0 itself. It needs to be the other number.
Okay.
Please.
So when you substitute y equals 1 squared.
Yes, which became 1. جماعة, you won't be able to understand unless you ask. So please keep asking.
I understand it completely.
Thank you. Yeah, Noreen. Are you good? Muhammad Jalal ومحمد Ahmad, are you good? طيب ليه أنا شايف الquestion ده is an important one? Why do I get يعني too much focused on this? Is because this isn't a question that's hard. It's a long question, but it's not a hard one. ده في فرق. يعني مفيش تريك في الموضوع غريبة مثلا جوه. No. This is just basic algebra questions. So the kinds of questions اللي زي دول we actually like them because this means there is a huge chance we can get them right. Yes, يا محمد معلش, I know it sounds depressing, but this is actually a straightforward question. It's basic algebra. I'm solving equations and so on. So again, please, if you don't understand أي step في النص or why did I do it, please ask now. Okay.
Sir, how often do these questions come?
A lot, because they're pretty easy and they're basics of the algebra.
So there are no calculus come along.
Yes, of course. Now this one. You're told z, a squared plus b squared is equals to z, and then a times b is equals to y. Which of the following is the equivalent of 4z plus 8y? So I'd say to substitute. هو مش بيقول لي إن z is equals to a few things, and then the y is equals to those things. So I'll substitute. Instead of the z, I'll put this. And instead of the y, I'll put this. I'll say 4 and then open a bracket, put the a squared plus the b squared, close the bracket, plus 8, and then instead of the y, I'll put just a and b times each other. Now this 4 must be distributed definitely, so I'll just write the 4a squared plus the 4b squared plus the 8ab. Now generally لما بيكون عندي كده a squared و b squared و ab المفروض ارتبهم ترتيب مظبوط. ان انا احط دايما ال a squared في الاول وفي النص ال ab وفي الاخر ال b squared. وعامة if you do not do that, that's just fine. If you did not do this step اللي في الاخر, it's fine as well. Now check ال answers بقى. مين من ال answers would get me the same answer as this right here or this, أي واحدة فيها. So if you check أول واحدة, a to the power of 2 is not 4a squared. Therefore it doesn't work. If you check تاني واحدة, 2a to the power of 2 will get me 4a squared. Then the second term to the power of 2, I should leave some space and do 4b squared. And if you remember, في النص المفروض أعمل ده times ده times 2. So 2a times 2b will become 4ab times 2 will become 8ab, which is exactly similar to these two questions. Definitely B is the right one. كده كده برضو دي 4 power 2 will become 16, not 4. ودي برضو 4 power 2 will become 16. So it can't be C, it can't be D, and it can't be A, it must be B. Does this make sense? Yes.
I understood everything.
But
and I understand how you got 4a squared plus 8ab plus 4b squared. But I'm a bit confused on why b exactly. Did you divide the whole equation by 2 or?
No. Ali, I did not divide anything. I'm expanding the bracket. Ali, this is a rule that we discussed earlier. Whenever I have two things in a bracket to the power of 2, how do I expand this bracket?
By
you forgot. We'll put the first one to the power of 2. And then we leave some space. And then we put the second one to the power of 2. And in the middle, we multiply this times 2, not to the power of 2. So it becomes 2ab here. Now, so when you check those answers, each one of those we should do the same. So this one should become a squared and then leave space and then 4b squared. And in the middle, a times 2 times 2, يعني 4ab. So this is not exactly similar to the one that I got, صح? So it can't be the answer. Now, if you expand this one.
Okay, I got it now. 2a squared is going to
4a squared.
4a squared plus
2 times 2 times 2 is 8. And then a times b, so it's 8ab. Is this okay? But you don't actually have to go through the whole thing, because if you just check the first term only, a power 2 is not the same as 4a power 2. 2a power 2 is the only one that would give me 4a power 2. 4 power 2 is 16a power 2. 4 power 2 is 16 as well. So the only one that would get me the first term as the right one is B, and that's it.
Okay, so I got it.
Right. There's one more way that we can do, and I told you about it earlier. I told you قبل كده إن if the letters that are in the question are exactly available in the choices، يعني ال A وال B اللي في الquestion اللي فوق موجودين تاني في الchoices تحت، then you can try out whatever numbers you like. يعني حط مكان ال A3 مثلا، حط مكان ال B4 مثلا. I'm just giving an example. And calculate this. احسب ده هيطلع بكام. And then check which of the following will come out with the same answer. But this is بصراحة a much longer way. Much longer.
So, Mister, I remember this way. I remember we even did it not only in this, we did it in another thing.
Yes, it was a very similar question as well. Was they were dividing the letters, I think, or something like that, and we kept saying we can try out the numbers and check which one would come out as the correct answer.
Mister, also a squared plus 2ab plus b squared. Also done it in another question. I remember.
Actually, this one is extremely important, and they intentionally try to ask you about it a lot because they know that people forget it. So please try to remember it.
I remember it, Mister. I learned it last year. I just forgot.
Exactly.
Okay, Mister. I'm gonna go over this week.
No worries.
Thank you.
Most welcome. You guys ready to go for one more? Now, please understand that the next 3 questions are supposed to be the hardest in the test, because these are the next 5 questions. They're supposed to be the last 5 questions right before the grid in. So they are supposed to be the hardest. But that doesn't mean that they are definitely the hardest questions we could ever solve. And that does not mean that you can't solve it, for example. Okay?
Mr. Part 3, no calculator, right?
Yeah.
We start now?
Yes, actually. بجد يعني this one بصراحة is hard, so just please try to remember all the rules and the things we've done earlier and so on. P3, 8 minutes starts now. To you about something. Okay. Now, I want to discuss with you the linear equations again for a second. If we said, let's say, that P is equals to 10t plus 50, what's the slope of this equation? And please discuss this with me out loud. What's the slope of this? It's the 10, yes, that's the slope. Good, that's the slope, good. And what's the y-intercept? The 50, that's the y-intercept. Now let's say that the T here represents temperature, and the P here represents people, number of people, okay? The slope 10 is considered 10 over 1, أي number لوحده كأنه بالظبط over 1. And the slope, we know for a fact that it is the rise over the run. Now what I want you to understand is that the slope represents the change in y over the change in x. التغيير عامة اللي بيحصل في الواي over التغيير اللي بيحصل في الاكس. In this case, the y is the people and the x is the temperature. So the slope here represents the change in temperature, sorry, the y, the change in people over the change in x, which is the temperature. So this means that with every, please concentrate في الحتة دي قوي, with every 1 degree increase, there is equivalent 10 people increase as well. So for every 1 new degree Celsius, in front of it قصادها في 10 people increasing. يعني لو كان عندي 2 degree Celsius increasing كان هيبقى عندي 20 people increasing and so on. Again, what am I trying to say? I'm trying to let you know that the slope represents a ratio between the y and the x. So if I said that the slope of anything is just 4, or let's say the slope is 2 over 3, that means that in every change in y of 2, there is a change in x of 3. So whenever x increases by 3, y increases by 2. Does this make sense?
Yes, Mr. Nexus. I just have a question though.
Of course.
For T to be 1, did you just like make that up? They're easy.
I'm sorry, can you say that again?
Like T is 1, correct?
No, t is not equals to 1. T is just t. I don't know the value of t.
And 1 was just an example. I was just making.
No, 10 is the slope, right?
Yes.
But any number in the world is over 1 already. Like 4 is just 4 over 1. So the 10 is the 10 over 1. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Awesome?
Yes, thank you very much.
Perfect. So let's go back to this question, number 13 specifically. Only at a restaurant, n cups of tea are made by adding tea bags to hot water. If T is equals to n plus 2, how many additional tea bags are needed to make each additional cup of tea? So is this a linear equation? Is this linear?
Yeah.
Yes, it is linear, and it does follow the form of y equals mx plus b, but it's here called t equals n plus 2. So the n is the x and the t is the y, and apparently the slope is 1 and the y-intercept is 2. Is this understood for everyone ولا لأ?
Yes, so we put 1 there because there is nothing else, right?
Exactly. So just by looking at an equation بالمنظر ده, you should quickly understand on your own right away. The slope is 1, the y-intercept is 2. Type, what does the slope represent? The x is the number of bags, yes. No, n is the cups of tea. N is the cups of tea, while T is the number of tea bags. So Y is the tea bags, while X is the number of cups, sorry. So if the slope is 1, هو ال 1 دي تعتبر 1 over 1. قلنا the slope represents the change in Y over the change in X. يعني this one represents the change in tea bags over the change in cups. So هو عايز يعرف ايه؟ For how many additional tea bags are needed in order to make one additional cup of tea. So مش السلوب 1/1 معناها ان كل زيادة of 1 cup قصادها في زيادة of 1 tea bag. Because 1 is for the Y's, which are the tea bags, and 1 for the cups, which are what's 1 for the X's, which are the cups. So for each 1 cup, I need 1 tea bag. The answer is 1.
Mister, I have a question. For example, if it was 2 men, so for every 2 cups we'd have for every 2 tea bags we'd have 1 cup.
Exactly, but it actually starts with the X. So for every 1 cup, we'll have 2 bags. We say it starting the X, okay?
Okay, so this you don't even need to do any calculating.
At all. Just look at the slope and you realize the rate of change.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Jed, what do you mean, but in this case, why not 3? No, the +2 are not needed. I'm just looking at the rate of change. So, for example, yeah, Jed, in this question, this one, this was about the temperature and S was the speed of the sound. So if the slope here is 0.6, what does that mean? It means that for every increase of 1 in the temperature, there is an increase of 0.6 in the speed of the sound. This has nothing to do with the Y-intercept at all. This is just based on the slope. So just by looking at the slope here, I can tell that each 1 degree Celsius increases 0.6 speed or speed, yes, of sound. Does this make sense, Jed? Or la? This connection is something new. Yeah, I know, and that's why I wanted to explain this to you. The way of everything is new information. That's my point. That's what I said at the very beginning, is that they're all at the end of the day connected. They're all the same thing. So the reason why the slope is called a rate of change, because it shows me the change that's happening in X in each one change in Y. Sorry, in Y, it shows me the change that's happening in Y in each one change of X. كل حاجة بغيرها في الإكس بيحصل إيه قصادها في الواي. That's what the slope shows me. That's the reason why the slope is important. Makes sense? جماعة, everyone, are we clear on this ولا لا?
Yes.
Now starting again from number 11, the one that has the volume, the first one that was there. It says the volume of a right circular cylinder is 22. What is the volume in cubic centimeters of a right circular cylinder with twice the radius and half the height? So first of all, what do I know about the volume? If they told me that the volume is 22, what do I know about the volume of a right circular cylinder?
So that's pi r squared times the height.
Perfect. The area of the base, multiply that by the height. This is the volume. ده اللي احنا خدناه. So if I have something like this is a cylinder, I'll get the area of the base and I'll multiply that by the height, and I have everything. They told me that the radius is an unknown, so I don't know the value of radius. I'll just leave it as r. I don't know the value of the height, but I know that this is equals to 22. Now, what they're asking me is that this is equivalent to another height, changes in the rise and the radius and the height. No, I'm sorry. They want to know what's the volume of the other one. So what are they going to change? They said that they need to change the r from that it's just the normal radius to twice the radius. So I'll think instead of the r, I'll put 2r, and the power 2 as it is and the h as it is. Again, instead of this r, I'll substitute it 2r. And then now instead of the h, I'm supposed to substitute half the h. So instead of this h, I'll substitute here half h. Now simplify this as much as possible. So 2 power 2 will become 4r squared over half h. Now 4 times half will become 2 multiplied by pi multiplied by r squared multiplied by h. This is the new volume. So what's the value of pi r squared h? You already have it here as what? 22. All what you need to do is to substitute instead of this 22. So 2 times 22, that would get you the volume now, which is 44. I can repeat this again 17,000 times, but I want you to ask.
Mr.
استنى يا علي ثانية، قول يا يحيى كده.
هو دلوقتي مش الفوليوم المفروض 1/3.
لا ده 1/3 if it's a peak يا يحيى، 1/3 if it's a pyramid، لو ليها بوز، لو كون او بيراميد او كده، هو ده اللي بعمل فيها 1/3. بس العادي بتاع اي فوليوم بتاع اي شيب it's the area of the base multiplied by the height. Awesome. طيب so I got the volume as I got here، وعرفت منه ان الباي ار سكويرد height دي تديني 22. بعدين هو قال لي انه عمل شويه changes to the radius و to the height، قمت انا عامل التشينجز دي، شلت الراديوس وحطيت مكانه twice the radius، شلت الهايت وحطيت مكانه half the height. ظبطت الكلام ده شويه فعملت 2 باور 2 which is 4 times half اللي هي 2. فدلوقتي بقت الانسر عباره عن 2 multiplied by pi r squared h. pi r squared h لوحدها انا لسه جايبها ب 22، so ممكن على طول اعمل 2 times 22 and that's how I get the answer. Please, are we clear ولا لا؟
بصي أنا I totally got confused after pi 2r squared and half of the height. I understood the part where you did 2 squared which is 4r squared, but then I got confused.
طيب ونورين نفس الكلام. So everyone understands how I got this، صح؟ ولا في أي حد مش فاهم دي؟ Noreen, we're good. Everyone understands how we got this, صح? Okay. So we have this, leave it on the side for now. Disregard it completely. Ensuha for the time being. Now, let's do what they are asking me to do. They need the volume of something that has twice the radius and half the height. So how do I get the volume? The volume is supposed to be area of the base, which is pi r squared, multiplied by the height. But they said that instead of the height, of the radius, they'll put twice the radius. So instead of r, I'll put 2 times r. Is this okay? Everyone, is this okay? You have to say yes, because otherwise I can't move forward. So is this okay until this step? Yes or no? You have to say something. Huh? Okay. So the next thing is the h. Now the h. Instead of the h, they said I'm supposed to put half the height. So instead of h, I'll open a bracket and put half the h, which is half the height. Calculate this. Calculate 2 power 2, for example. 2 power 2 is 4, and the r power 2 is just r power 2. Now half as it is and the height as it is. Remember that all of this is multiplied by each other. So what is 4 multiplied by half? That will become 2. نص ال 4 2. وجنبها ايه؟ جنبها الباي لسه، وجنبها الار سكويرد لسه، وجنبها الاتش لسه. في اي حد مش فاهم اي حاجه until this step؟ What? Yes, because they're multiplied. What do you mean we put them together? We did not just put them together. We multiplied them together.
So we do 4 times half.
Yes, which is
that 32.
Yes, نص ال 4, half of the 4.
4 times 2.
Half of the 4. Half of the 4. So here's the 4.
4 is 2.
It's 2. خلاص, that's it.
Oh, that's it. You don't need to do it.
Okay, so half of the 4 is 2. That's the 2 right there. And then this pi goes as it is. The r squared goes as it is. The h goes as it is right there. Any problems again until this point, everyone? Good. Now I'll remove this circle and this circle and that circle, which are these 3, and instead I'll substitute the 22. They're equal to each other. So I'll just put 2 and open a bracket and put this right here, which is the 22. That would get me the new volume, which is the 44. So instead of actually doing or knowing what's the height and what's the radius, I just did the changes. هو غير ايه؟ هو خلى ال 2 تبقى twice، والراديوس بتعمل له باور 2 فتعمل باور 2، والهاف بقى half the radius. So half the 4 became 2, and that's the only difference, is that the previous volume اصغر من ده او اقل من ده بان هو نصه يعتبر. Does that make sense شويه ولا لا؟
Yes, which makes a lot of sense. Thank you.
طب بس مش هي المفروض ممكن مثلا تكون باي 2 radius بار 2 بعدها تايمز هايت، يعني نحط الباي قبل 2 فساعتها مش هنقدر نعمل سبستيتيوت.
لا طبعا هما 3 تايمز بعد ينفع طبعا اعمل سبستيوت. هو 2 تايمز 3 تايمز 4 تفرق عن 2 تايمز 4 تايمز 3 او 4 تايمز 3 تايمز 2 او 4 تايمز 2. doesn't matter مين قبل مين، المهم ان هما الثلاثه اللي تايمز بعض اللي هما الباي والار سكويرد والاتش، ثلاثه مع بعض تايمز بعض ب 22 نو ماتر وات.
تمام.
بس 12 is a very important one. Okay, I've explained already ليكم موضوع ال changes of the powers. We said that if I have x to the power of a over b, I can switch this to become x power a والبي دي تطلع بره الروت هنا as an index. فعشان كده قلنا مثلا if I have x power 2 over 3 دي هتتغير تبقى x power 2 وبعدين تحت الكيوبيك روت. Is this idea here makes sense to everyone ولا في أي حد مش فاهم ده؟ عشان الحوار ده مهم قوي. This is how we're going to start with. Is this okay?
Yes.
طيب. What happens بقى next? We have here 9 power 3 over 4. قلنا whenever we have a fraction like that, I'll switch it to a power. It will become 9 power 3 under the 4th root. When you look at the answers, no such answer is there. So هحاول أظبطها شوية. هحاول أسهلها وsimplify it شوية. How do I do so? بدل ال 9 هحط 3 باور حاجة. 3 باور كام يديني 9؟ Again, 3 power 2 becomes 9. So here's 3 power 2 instead of the 9, and then this power of 3 will remain as it is. Is this for everyone understood ولا لأ? I just removed the 9 and I substituted 3 power 2. Now these two powers المفروض يتعملوا بالتايمز، يعني يبقى عندي 4th root of 3 power 6 اللي هي 2 times 3. في أي حد مش فاهم أي حاجة until this point؟
Mister, so you just, instead of leaving it as 9, you just put it on 3 power 2, which gets you 9.
Yes, exactly. So I'm just trying to change how it looks, ya Ali, without changing the value.
Then how did you get to 3 power 6?
Because there's 3 power 2 and there's already this power of 3 that was already available here from the very beginning that wasn't changed. So we multiply these two powers the one that we got and the one that was already there. Does this make sense, ya Ali?
Yes, makes sense.
Okay, so what happens next? What is 3 power 6? 3 power 6, it means 3 times 3 times 3 times 3 times 3, 6 times. The cubic root, sorry, the 4th root removes 4 out of those. يعني what does the 4th root do? You know, it takes these 4 and it changes them to only 1 3 بس. So the 4th root of 4 3s is just 3 واحدة. But inside the root there should still be these 2 3s اللي هما مش عارف يعني هنعملهم ازاي القصة دي. هنعملها ازاي تبقى easier بالنسبة لكم. Right, before I do this one, I have to tell you how the roots work. You see this, a cubic root of a times a times a times b times b. Okay? What do you think the cubic root would change here? How would this be simplified? The cubic root is supposed to remove 3 a's under the root and make it only 1 outside of the root. That's what the root would do. هيطلع ال3 من اللي تحت هيطلعهم بره. as 1 واحده بس، يعني هيطلع A واحده بس بره، بس هيسيب الكيوبيك زي ما هو، واللي باقي جوه الروت هيفضل زي ما هو جوه الروت اللي هو B times B. عشان كده مثلا الكيوب الفورث روت بيشيل الاكس باور 4 ويخليها اكس. ليه؟ because x باور 4 معناها x times x times x times x. احنا قلنا ان الباور الفورث روت بيشيل 4 منهم ويخليها x واحده بس بره الروت. because there is nothing remaining inside the root, so خلاص the answer becomes just x and that's it. So when I have something like this fourth root of 3 times 3 times 3 times 3 times 3 times 3، 4 من دول هيتشالوا ويتحطوا 3 واحدة بره، واللي هيتبقى جوه is 2 من ال 3 دول times بعض under root fourth root. في حد متلخبط شوية في الحتة دي ولا لا؟
Yes, sir, I understand, but 3 times 3, can we put it as 9 or can we leave it?
لا I leave it for now بس عشان أفهمك بعد كده كمان what else will happen. Okay? I can okay. So ماشي يعني leave it as 3 for the time being. The 3 will remain here, but then this is a 4. Now 3 times 3 is 3 power 2. صح؟ The fourth root of a power of 2 will make it a square root عادي to the power of the 3. The fourth root of the 2 دي will just leave. I don't know how to explain this one with you for you to with a simpler way. يعني I can say that it becomes 3 and then 3 to the power of 2 over 4. 2 over 4 will become half simplified. The half simplified will become root again. So that's how I get to this. This is the longest way I can explain it, بس مش عارفه اقولها ازاي بطريقه اسهل. في اي حد في دماغه اي حاجه ممكن تكون ابسط شويه ممكن نعملها؟ square root of 9 is 3. اوكي ماشي، بس ما هي it's a fourth root يا محمد، ف I don't know. It's a fourth root not a square root. So هتجيب square root of the square root صح؟ ده اللي انت عايز تقوله؟ يعني برضه ماشي، انت لو عايز تبص لها كده fourth root of 9 اعتبر ان دول 2 square root of 9، فالسكوير روت الاولاني of 9 ب 3 والسكوير روت الثاني of 9 ب 3 برضه. لا مش
لا مستر مش قصدي كده، انت قلت
هتعتبرها سكوير روت
اللي بره ماشي عندنا 6 3 جوه عشان منهم 4 فتبقى 3 راديكال 3 تايمز 3 اللي هي تبقى راديكال 9.
ما هي مش راديكال عادي، هي راديكال ب 4 مش راديكال عادي، لان هي من الاول خالص كان ده فورث روت صح؟ صح؟ محمد
نعم مستر
حبيبي هو مش راديكال عادي، هي فورث روت صح؟ يعني هي مش سكوير روت عادي، هي فورث روت. all square of 9 square root of 9 ب 3، بس what's the fourth root of 9 then؟ فاهم ولا لا؟
مستر مش انت قلت ان احنا دلوقتي الاربعه دي
ايوه هي مش بتتشال، هي بتشيل من الاربعه اللي جوه، بس الروت لسه بيفضل زي ما هو بالظبط على الاثنين الباقيين، يعني عشان كده بيفضل fourth root of 3 power 2. فاهم؟ الروت
ايوه
عشان هو 4 شال 4 بس لسه موجود على الباقي ما راحش. So you can think about it ازاي ال fourth root of 9 دي؟ هتعمل square root مرتين، يعني what's the square root of 9؟ 3. اعمل له square root كمان. This is the answer. You can think about it بالطريقه دي if you want. square root twice. ال fourth root كانه square root معمول مرتين. So هعمل square root المره الاولانيه واللي هيطلع اعمل له square root برضه، تبقى دي الانسر. فاهم ولا مش قوي دي؟
ايوه مستر فاهم.
طيب I hope so. Let's check for
بس
T.
هو احنا كان ممكن الرقم اللي هو في الاول ده خالص نعمله باور لحاجه ونقارنه بالانسرز بنفس الباور، باور 2 مثلا.
يعني نعمل ده باور 2 ونقارنه بنفس الرقم، يعني نعمل 9 باور 3 يعني تقصد ايه تبقى ايه الارقام؟
9 باور 2 ونقارن الانسرز برضه بباور 2 ونشوف هتطلع نفس الانسر ولا لا.
ممكن، بس انت باور 2 دي ما هتفرق معاك في ايه؟
هتسهل الموضوع ان انا لو عملت 9 باور 3 over 4 باور 2 ف 2 over 1 times ال 3 over 4 هتديني 6 over 4 هتبقى 9 باور 2 يعني 81. وبعدين لما جربتها في الانسرز طلعت اللي هي ال 3 root 3 باور 2.
اوكي بس انا متهيألي يا محمد ان ده اصعب مش اسهل. انا متهيألي يعني متهيألي ان انت لا هقول لك يعني مش تنفع. يعني ممكن يكون عندك انسر تانية برضو بنفس الريزلت بس الكونستراكت بتاعها مش مظبوط. يعني for example if you have 3 power 3 would it be correct؟ it would have been the same result بس هي مش تبقى انسر صح. يعني الاثنين هيطلعوا لك بنفس الرقم.
يعني اعملها باور بقى تطلع الفراكشن يبقى انتجر مش فراكشن.
انا فهمت فهمت قصدي. والله بص if you get it يعني انا حاسس ان انت عارف. انا فاهم انت بتقول ايه كويس قوي والله. بس انا بقول انت شكلك واثق يعني انت عارف هفهمها كويس. فاهم فكره انه what am I looking for؟ I'm looking على حاجه حتى بعد ما اعمل لها الباور تفضل انتجر ما تطلعش ديسيمال مثلا صح؟ لو انت عارف ده ماشي. بس انا I wouldn't برضه recommend لاني حاسس ان هي مش تنفع على كل حاجه. انا ده احساسي يعني حاسس ان هو هيجي لو عمل one tiny change هنا كل الموضوع اللي انت بتقوله ده هيتغير مش هينفع مثلا. فاهم؟ بس يعني اوكي اتس جود برضه. طيب this one هو بيقول لي ان this the function f is defined by the equation above. This is the equation. Which of the following is the graph of this equation? Negative f of x. وانا لما اعمل نيجاتيف للفانكشن كلها ده بيعمل ايه فيها؟ لما اعمل الاف كلها تايمز نيجاتيف في الاول هيعمل فيها ايه؟ هيشقلبها كلها. هيعمل لها reflection across the x axis. again لما يكون عندي negative multiplied by the entire function كده negative times the f ده بيعمل reflection across ال x axis. while لو انا عملت times negative للx بس يعني لو خليتها 2 power negative x plus 1 ده كان كده هيبقى reflection across the y. يعني الريفلكشن عكس المنطقي. لو عندي نيجاتيف مش على الاكس تبقى دي ريفلكشن على الاكس اكس. ولو عندي نيجاتيف عند الاكس تبقى دي ريفلكشن على الواي. سو هنا هو ما كانش عندي نيجاتيف عند الاكس هو عندي نيجاتيف على الفانكشن كلها. So that's a reflection across the x axis. So مثلا لو كان الجراف بتاعي الاول عامل كده لما يتعمل لها ريفلكشن هيعمل كده. That's the whole thing. هيبقى مقلوب باصص لتحت. So which one could be the correct one? It should be C. اللاين عمره ما هيلمس الاكس اكسس نفسها سو ما ينفعش تكون دي وما ينفعش تكون بي. هي يا اما A يا اما C. Does this make sense? Yes ولا no؟
مستر هو بس واحنا لما نعمل نيجاتيف اف اوف اكس بنغير الساينز لكل حاجه.
لا ما هو ده انا كنت لسه بقول لك انا لما اعمل الاف اوف اكس اللي هي الفانكشن كلها تايمز نيجاتيف كده انا بعمل ريفلكشن اكروس ذا اكس اكسس. بس لو بعمل الاكس نفسها هي اللي تايمز نيجاتيف مش الاف اوف اكس الاكس بس هي اللي تايمز نيجاتيف يبقى انا بعمل ريفلكشن اكروس ذا واي.
يعني لو بعمل لا هي لو ريفلكشن اكروس ذا واي هتكون ايه؟
هيكون الرسمه بتاعتي عامله كده.
لا انا قصدي يعني هتكون لما يقول لي
هتتكتب ازاي؟ هتبقى 2 باور نيجاتيف x بلس 1. This is a reflection across the y. النيجاتيف اللي معموله تايمز الاكس دي reflection across the y. فاهم؟
ولو على الاكس اكسس
هيبقى النيجاتيف بره زي ما انت شفت كده نيجاتيف f of x او نيجاتيف وبعدين 2 باور x بلس 1 كده اللي هو نيجاتيف تايمز ذا هول ثينج مش تايمز الاكس من الاخر. طول ما مش تايمز الاكس تبقى ريفلكشن على الواي. اول ما تبقى تايمز الاكس سوري طول ما مش تايمز الاكس تبقى ريفلكشن على الاكس. اول ما تعمل تايمز الاكس نفسها تبقى ريفلكشن على الواي. اوكي
Mr. Ahmed, I just have a problem with graphs, Mr. Like, when I get a question with graphs, I just get really confused. I don't get this question. thought it was A because A, like the line, it went through 2 on Y.
Well, that's one thing. First of all, what? Okay, isn't this what we call the Y-intercept? So how do I find the Y-intercept? Wasn't it? I should put x with 0?
Yes.
So good. If I put x with 0 here, 2 power 0 will be 1. 1 plus 1 will be 2. So yes, it's true that the Y-intercept is 2. But the Y-intercept of this, now this is not what they're looking for. They're looking for this, which is the negative of that. Okay?
Mr. Okay. I got it. It was basically, I was solving it correctly, but I forgot
For
about
the
the negative and I got A instead of C.
Exactly. You worked on the previous one, on the original one.
This doesn't even need any calculations, right?
Yeah, خالص, not at all.
It's like a very good question. Because I did it very quickly, then I was
True.
surprised.
It's actually a pretty easy one.
Thank you, Mr.
Can
Yes.
you explain 13 please? Because I did not understand it.
Okay. So
I'm sorry because
no, بس يعني it's fine anyway. So do you understand that the slope is mainly a rate of change, right? It's the change in y over the change in x. Does that make sense?
yes.
So what if the y represents your grades and x represents the number of subjects? Okay. Then the slope would be the change in your grades over the change in number of subjects, right?
Yes.
Not again. So the slope is change in y over the change in x. If y represents people and x represents money, it will be the change in people over the change in money. Are we clear?
Yes.
100%.
Yes. For now, yes.
Okay. So what does the x here in this question represent?
X is N.
Which is?
Number of cups of tea.
Okay. And what does the y represent?
It is T, which is tea bags.
So the slope should be the change in what over the change in what?
Slope is cups of tea over tea bags.
Exactly. So the change of the, no, the other way around. It's the y over the x.
Tea bags over cups of tea.
Again, so change in tea bags over the change in cups of tea, correct? What's the slope that you got? It's 1 over 1. So the change of 1 in the cups is equivalent to a change of 1 in the tea bags, right? صح?
Yes.
So for each, how many additional new tea bags are needed to make 1 new cup of tea?
1 only?
Yes. For each one, there's 1.
Why is the plus 2 present here? Is it just for confusion, yani?
The plus 2 is the y-intercept. It's what you started with. You started already the whole thing with 2 tea bags. That's the thing.
2 tea bags or 2 cups? Because
it's the y-intercept, yeah, Jay. It's the y-intercept code. And what does the y here represent?
Is the number of tea bags.
So then 2 must be the number of tea bags, right?
Yes.
At the beginning, when there was no cups.
Broke every single basic rule I took with you, honestly.
Not true. It actually supports exactly every single rule that we've ever done before.
المسألة خربتني من جوا. It made me forget every single rule
you took. Okay. No, it's not, by the way. It's just that you everything is still the same. Don't change anything regarding how to find the slope, how to find the y-intercept, and what do they represent, and the keywords. These are just the same thing. The only new thing that we haven't just discussed earlier is that the fact that the slope, which is the rise over run, is considered the change in the change in y over the change in x, no matter what x and y represents. So for each one x, there's this number of y's that keeps changing. That's why, مثلا, when we explained the linear equations at the very beginning, we were talking about an installment case. Do you remember that? We pay something on installments each month and so on. يعني let's say you're paying something on installments each month, and you pay the down payment, and then you're paying each month 1,000 each month. So if the slope in this case will be the 1,000, that means that for each change of 1 in the number of months, there is a change of 1,000 in the total amount of money. In each change of 1 in the months, which are the x, it's equivalent to a change of 1,000 in the y, which are the money. Makes sense?
Yes.
So that's the case with any slope whatsoever. Yes.
Thank you.
You're most welcome. Finally, this one, it says Alan here drives an average of 100 miles each week. His car can travel an average of 25 miles per 1 gallon. Alan would like to reduce his weekly expenditure on gasoline by $5. Assuming gasoline costs $4 per gallon, which equation can Alan use to determine how many fewer average miles he should drive each week? It's a long one, okay? Right. First of all, I'll try to get right now the cost of him running his car that long. He
Mister,
already.
I have a question, Mister.
Yes.
In questions like these, Mister, I understand how to do it, but without the calculator, Mister, it gets hard because when you do 25 divided by 4.
Why is it divided by 4?
Because Mister, he basically 25 miles per gallon and he spends $4 on a gallon. So you want to know how much he spends on how much he spends when he spends $1, Mister. So
Why?
how much $1 gets him. So then you could multiply that by 5, figure out how much it is.
So you just need to divide the 25 by 4?
Yes, and then that's going to give you the price of $1.
And then multiply that by what? By the change, the average of the fewer miles, which is the M, right?
Yes.
And that should give me the amount of money that I saved, correct? Which is the 5, right?
Yes.
What you just said, Ali, is B.
Yeah, that's what I did, Mister. I got B. I answered B.
Okay. So.
Wait, one second, Mister. I answered D, Mister.
Okay.
But I don't know how it was D. That's the question.
Okay. Because the rates that you've used so far are very close to being true with just one tiny difference, and I'll show you now. Okay. Okay. I'll think of the easiest way to do this. This guy right now drives an average of 100 miles each week. His car can travel 25 miles per 1 gallon. So I'll leave here the miles, and I'll create this is equivalent to gallons. And apparently the 25 miles can be done in 1 gallon. Now he'd like to reduce whatsoever, assuming that each costs $4 per gallon. Now, if he walks 100 miles each week, then what's the actual amount of gallons that he uses? I'll put here the 100, and I'll get how many gallons are needed, correct? So I'll cross multiply there. 100 times 1 divided by 25, and 100 divided by 25 will give me 4. So apparently he right now uses 4 gallons. How much does those 4 gallons cost right now?
It costs $16.
Exactly. So the 4 gallons are supposed to be multiplied by the cost of 1 gallon, and that's a total of $16. Now he would like to decrease his expenditure by 5. So yes.
$16 ازاي؟
Each gallon costs قد ايه؟
4.
وهما 4 gallons. So 4 times 4. Good. Now, assuming again that, I'm sorry, someone else was saying something. Okay. I want to reduce my expenditure by 5. So I want to reduce from this 5, which means it should become 11. What should change in the number of miles he drives. How much should this 100 decrease by to reflect a change of 5? That's what the question is asking me.
That's where I get lost. Like,
Now,
so the question is now we know that he spent $16. So we remove 5 from that. So we want to know how much that's going to remove from the total of 100. Mister, the way I would solve this, Mister, is like 16 divided by 2 would give me 8. And then I would do 8 divided by 2 would give me 4. And then I would do 4 divided by 2 would give me 1. And 2 divided by 1. Then I have the price of 1. And I multiply that by 11. Then that's going to give me how much.
but the 11 would, how much what?
Like how much total. Like for example, say the 1 times 11 was 70. So you'd be saving 30 miles. Example.
70? Ah, so you're checking. Okay. So M
But
is
it's not
equals to.
same.
I'm sorry? Ah, yes,
I'll
yes,
say
yes, I get it. I get it.
you just do Mr. 16 divided by 16 to get what 1 is. And multiply that by 11.
Why? I don't.
Mr. 16 is 100.
Okay.
100 divided by 100 equals 1. 1 times 11 equals 11.
Yeah, but this is getting harder, Ya Ali. What you're thinking of so far makes it harder.
I'm trying to solve it mentally.
I get it. Wallahi, 100%. I love that, and I would try to do the same thing. But as long when it gets me too confused, then I'll stop. Then there has to be something wrong. Now, the original thought of yours, to get the price of 1 gallon, and then multiply the price of that gallon by the number of miles that I need to decrease. This needs to be less than M, right? Sorry, less than, this needs to be exactly 5. So the 4 multiplied by the number of gallons that I need to save is supposed to be actually equivalent to 5. I don't know why. This is stupid, Fallon. Why is this turning around?
Yeah, I'm still confused. I honestly don't know.
Okay, so I'll just
I
calculate
think also
everything.
the way he was solving it was kind of correct.
No, I'll tell you now.
Not fine. Same answer. But it was the way of solving it.
Just give me 1 second again. What? 25. No, this is stupid. So never mind, kid. I'll do it in another way. This is by far. fewer miles each week. It should be the price of each mile, the price of each gallon. The price of each mile. This is stupid. I'm sorry, يا جماعة. Okay. No, which answer that shows the gender you're talking about? D, you mean? Yeah, yes, the answers are correct. But let's check that. So I got it now. Okay. The 100 miles is actually, I want to know the cost of 1 mile. The cost of 1 mile again. Okay, that's what I need to know. If I know the cost of 1 mile, I can multiply that by the number of miles that I need to save. Well, that should be equals to exactly 5. Again, أنا عايز أقلل the number of miles that I'm driving by a specific amount. الامount ده would be equivalent ل $5. So لازم أعرف كل مايل الأول costs قد إيه. If the 25 miles per 1 gallon are done, which means the 25 miles costs $4. So the 1 mile would cost 1 times 4 over 25. That's the cost of 1 mile only. The cost of 1 mile only, which is 1 times 4 divided 25. So the cost of 1 mile is 4 over 25. Now I need to save m miles. So I'll multiply the cost of 1 mile times the amount that I've saved. I need this to give me a total of $5 saved. And that's how D must be the correct answer.
يا مستر انا مشكلتي بس ال 4 over 25.
Get منين صح؟
Okay.
Let's say okay ال 25 miles دي miles صح؟ ودول هنا ال 25 miles is 1 gallon is دور gallons. So 25 miles are done in 1 gallon, correct? طيب ال 1 gallon costs كام؟
$4.
أنا عايز أجيب من miles لcost على طول. So من miles عايز أجيب dollars على طول. So كده ال 25 miles بكام دولار؟
كده ال $25.
بكام؟
لا 25 times 4 كده.
لا حبيبي ال 25 miles عايزين 1 gallon. ال 1 gallon ب 4 يبقى ال 25 miles كلهم على بعض بكام دولار؟
كام؟
4.
25 times 4.
لا 4 just 4. ال 25 miles بيتعملوا ب 1 gallon والجالون الواحد ثمنه 4. So ال 25 miles بيتعملوا ب 4 صح؟ اوكي. So ال 25 miles is $4. So far is this okay؟ طيب انا لو عايز اعرف مثلا ال 50 miles هيكلفوا كام؟ بعمل ايه؟ مش بعمل كروس مالتيبلاين 50 times 4 divided 25. طب انا بقى مش عايز اعرف ال 50، انا عايز اعرف ال 1 مايل بكام؟
فهنعمل كده 4 times 1 over 25.
بالظبط 4 times 1 over 25 which will become 4 over $25. ده الكوست of 1 مايل صح؟
ايوه.
طيب هو عايز يسيف fewer miles قد ايه؟ m. فهعمل المايلز اللي انا عايز اوفرها times the cost of each of them صح؟ That should give me، هو عايز بقى يريديوس الاوفرول expenditure بقد ايه؟ ب $5. يبقى انا عايز الفرق اللي انا وفرته ده يبقى equivalent ل $5 عشان ابقى انا كده وفرت $5 بالظبط.
ليه بقى مش 95؟
again انا مثلا انا دلوقتي لو كنت بمشي 10 كيلو الكيلو الواحد ب 2 جنيه، لما بقيت امشي 8 يبقى انا وفرت كام كيلو اقل؟ 2. وفرت فلوس قد ايه اقل؟
بقى دي احسن بقى.
هحسب ايه بالظبط؟ 2 تايمز ايه؟ تايمز 8 الكيلو الواحد بكام صح؟ صح؟
ايوه.
again اوكي. سو انا عندي دلوقتي a total of 100 miles. انا بقى همشي اقل شويه. اوكي؟ اقل بقد ايه؟ اقل بام. يعني بدل ما كنت بمشي 10 مشيت 8 كان اقل بقد ايه؟ اقل ب 2. فانا دلوقتي كنت بمشي 100 مشيت شويه اقل بقى اقل بقد ايه؟ بام. سو الام هو الفرق. is this okay؟
يعني الام بتريبريزنت الديفرنس.
بالظبط. سو الديفرنس ده بقى تايمز الكوست بتاع الجالون المايل الواحد صح؟
ايوه.
مش انا لو وفرت 4 كيلو يبقى الكيلو الواحد ب5 مثلا، يبقى 4 في 5 يبقى انا كده وفرت 20. طب هو انا وفرت ام مايلز والمايل الواحد ب 4 اوفر 25، فعملت 4 اوفر 25 تايمز ام عشان اوفر فلوس قد ايه بقى اوفرول؟ هو قايل لي انا عايز اريديوس الاكسبندتشر باي قد ايه؟ So that's what I want. الفرق يبقى عايز البرايس بتاع ال1 مايل تايمز عدد المايلز اللي وفرتهم يكونوا اوفرول على بعض القصه دي $5. انا عايز اكون وفرت $5. فاهم؟ Sure. Everyone else is this okay?
Mr. Ahmed, I totally get it now. Just using cross multiplication is just much faster than mental math.
Exactly.
It's very easy. Like, what's it called? 4 times 1 over 25, 4 over 25. Then automatically 4 times 25 equals 4, okay, 10.
4 over 25 times. Yes.
So we want that minus 5. So we're just going to put, okay, I got that. The point is, Mr. I don't know how to explain it exactly.
I complete, because by the way, you got at the very beginning what you understood and how you thought about it is right. Yani the end goal is right. It's just that you couldn't get the correct price of per mile. But the idea that you had in mind was perfect. That's exactly what we were looking for. The price of 1 mile, multiply that by the number of miles, that would get you the amount that you would like to save. صح?
Yes. Okay.
Thank you. Please do the exit ticket يا جماعة, and I please ask you to do the homework. The homework is literally all the remaining forms. The others are with a calculator, so they're supposed to be much easier. But we need to practice كتير بجد. I thank you يا حبايبي so much. And I don't want to keep you later يعني waiting more than that خلاص.